Okay, so we have our software installed. We're ready to get started on a new project. The first thing that I would like us to do is we're going to come into Canvas. Under this week's module, you'll see I've included some files I'd like you to download. For this Windows sample files.unity package, go ahead and download that file to your machine. And then we're going to open up Unity Hub. And so I'm ready to come to the Projects tab, and I'm going to create a new project. And that's going to pull up this new window with some different options. And so this is where we're going to be creating our folder on our computer that's storing our Unity project files. Now, what's important here is that this folder cannot be the same folder as our repository, and you'll understand why we want these to be separate a little bit later. But for now, I'm just going to name this Windows example. And I'm going to choose a location for this project to be built. If you click on those three dots, it's going to allow you to select a location on your computer where you would like to save your Unity files. Now, inside my new realities folder, this Windows sample file folder is my GitHub repository. So in this same area in the hierarchy of my project files, I want to save this, but not in this folder itself. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Documents. I'm going to select New Realities, and that parent folder is where I'm going to create my Unity project. So go ahead and create that. And then once we hit create, it's going to open our Unity software. We are in Unity 2019.4, and this is the default setup of the interface. And as you can see, we have these the center window with 4 tabs. We have a scene view, an asset store, a game view, and this animator tab. And then we have on the left column something called sample scene. And then we have a window down below, which is our project files. And so you'll see we start out by default with an assets folder and a scenes folder and a .unity file called sample scene. And then on the right, we have some tabs here in the inspector, services, and project settings. And for right now, what I'd like us to do is we're actually going to import the .unity package file. So to do that, we're going to come to the assets menu, and we're going to click import package, custom package. And that's going to bring up a finder menu where you can navigate to your download of the project files from Canvas. And it's going to bring you this menu where it shows you all of the files that are located inside of that .unity package. And you can either select or deselect which ones you want to import into your project. For today, we're going to import all of these. And when we do that, we'll see our assets folder now has a few new folders inside of it. We have animations, materials, models, and scenes. And we now have 2 scenes. We have a sample scene and this window sample scene. Now the window sample scene, if you double click it, you'll see we end up with a few more objects inside of our scene view. We can also go to game view, and we can see that this main camera game object here, we're actually gazing through this camera when we are in game view. So this is the perspective of the camera. Let's see. And then if we double select sample scene, we'll see these are the default projects. Now, it's up to you whether you want to work directly out of the Windows sample scene, or if you want to work in your own other scene where you can kind of like mess things up and change things and then just use this Windows sample scene as a reference. I might use this window sample scene as a reference. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these game objects from this column. I'm going to hit Command C to copy them. You can also right click and then select copy. And then I'm going to open my sample scene, select all of my game objects, right click and select delete. And then I'm going to right click and select paste. And I've now copied the contents of my window sample scene into my scene view. I'm going to go ahead and save these changes I've made, file, save. And then I'm going to rename my scene to something a little bit more identifiable than sample scene. So I'm just going to click once into the name. And I'm going to call this demo for now. It'll bring up this menu to reload your scene with the new name. So now we have the sample files loaded. Before we really begin digging into Unity and how we can start working with this scene, I really want to configure the settings for this project first, so that as we're working, it's ready to deploy to GitHub. Okay, so there's two areas where we're going to set up the configuration for GitHub. The first area we need to configure is called the build settings. We need to go to File, Build Settings, and it's going to bring up our Build Settings menu. So from here, there's two things we want to do. One is we want to add our open scene to our build settings. So you'll see now my demo scene that I'm working in is now set up to be built or to be exported under these settings. The second is that our platform by default will be set up for PC, Mac, and Linux. We want to switch that to WebGL. And this is really important to do early in your process. If you wait until the very end, it will take Unity a really long time to switch to the platform. So we'll select WebGL and then we'll hit Switch Platform. And it's now going to recompile all the scripts associated with this scene for WebGL output. Okay, so that is finished. And the next thing we want to do is configure our player settings. So if we come to the bottom left corner here, we'll see that we can click player settings, and that's going to pull up our project settings on the right column. And there's some naming conventions that we want to change. So our product name is going to be the name of your what you named your project at the beginning, but you'll want to change default company to your name. Version 1. If you open resolution and presentation, you'll see that we have a default canvas width and height, as well as a WebGL template. This is the HTML file that we are designing to display our Unity project within. The splash image, other settings, and publishing settings, the default setup of these areas should be okay for this phase of our project. So now in this next video, we're going to start digging into the Unity UI and getting started with game objects, materials, animations, and skyboxes.